You already did.
Alright, so this is 7:42, you're starting.
Okay, I'm calling the Columbia Board of Selectmen meeting to order at 7:42, Tuesday, June 17th. Hybrid meeting, we see we have a guest on board, Bill, who's on vacation and wants to join us from, where are you, Yosemite? Bill, is that where you are?
I'm in Idaho. It's Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. Wow. Nice. Very good. I'm not sure I'd be here if I was there.
You can do this couple
Yeah.
I may come to regret it.
Okay, I'm going to forego the pledge. We did the pledge in there, although you can't do it enough, but. So I move to approve the agenda as presented. I do have to ask for two additions under new business, 6.1 discussion and approval for policies and procedures recommended by bond counsel. And under appointments and resignations, 8.1 for the appointment of Kristen Locke to the Board of Education. For the first one, we need that because we're supposed to sign paperwork on Monday. We were told last night, yesterday, or late yesterday, that we need to do this. And then since I was putting something on the agenda, we found out that Kristen Locke is the correct name, so I asked to put that on there. So, in discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Let the record show Joe said aye. Approval of the minutes. I move to approve the Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes for June 3rd, 2025. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Bill was good. Okay, audience of citizens.
Let me just look. Bill is our only participant coming on, and that's it.
Okay, old business, continuation for the public hearing to adopt revisions. There were some things that were said in there that I think we need to talk about. Putting into the ordinance, there was some good discussion, a couple of minor things, but there are things that I hate to vote on the ordinance and then have to fix. Mr. Beck, do you have any input on that?
That would be, you could kick it back to LMAC and LMAC could, take those up at its, July meeting and be back to you with, suggested adjustments if you want to give guidance as to, which ones of the comments, seem to be appropriate to adjust to.
It's either that or we go through the comments, all the comments that were made, and I know I looked at Jen and Mark and I said, are we getting that? Because I need to make sure we talk about that. I mean, did you hear any that, the two engines on the boat? We talked about that a little bit, single engine versus two engines. The two corrections that Mr. Beck had put in there. Anything else? Mark, you gotta give me your attention here, because together we made.
Okay, so what I just handed out to the board is the regulations and policy with the two changes Henry brought up during the public hearing. They're in red. So,
Steve,
but not everything was heard.
the other one I think we could deal with in the interim would be the 100% vinegar issue. And get that right, and then, there could be an inadvertent, possibility that somebody could put a sailboat on the lake that's more than 26 feet if it doesn't have an engine. If you've got a sailboat that's more than 26 feet, but it probably has an engine in it, so it would be a motorboat and be regulated, but there is a possibility, the way it's written, that somebody could put a 30-foot sailboat without an engine on the lake. And we might wanna just have something to take care of that little technical thing so that nobody could raise that as an issue.
So if we move forward with this, do I have to read off every change?
If you want to pass it tonight, we have to agree on every change you're adding to this, or you have to move to the next board, so.
You gotta bring it back to me, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. We have notes written down, we had people making suggestions. As much as I did not want a July 2nd meeting. We need to move forward, but I need to be clear when we move forward with this thing.
Right.
Okay, so. When's LMAX next meeting?
That would be, we're probably on the 3rd, we're meeting on Wednesdays. So
Okay.
it would be the second meeting is July 2nd.
Okay, but if you push that back, that July 3rd, because the next day is 4th of July, then we're into August, and I can't have this.
Yeah, I understand that.
You wanna move your July 3rd to something? That's up to you, but you gotta go through this.
Yeah.
I guess I was just gonna suggest, because. Sounds like it's a work process and the board may revisit this again somewhere down the road to address other issues. So, for example, the 30-foot sail, I mean, is that really something we think is gonna be problematic, or is that something we can fix? If this board looks at it in the winter.
If that's a problem, it hasn't.
Right, because it sounds like the urgency is to get the launch procedures, the inspection procedures, to correct a couple of the, minor issues that Mr. Beck found and maybe address the, dual engines and move forward. That's what I'd recommend, so we can move forward.
Can't we just deal with 236-foot sailboats by having any non-conforming can be brought to before the board?
Yeah, and I saw that it's discretion of the board of selectmen ultimately, okay, but isn't that in either the ordinance or the regulation?
Well, there is a place in the ordinance that does allow the selectmen to allow a boat on the lake, but it was designed to deal with things like government boats or whatever, but it's broad enough so you could deal with it in the short term that way, but, and then undoubtedly you'll wanna do some technical amendments to this after some experience anyway. We could pick those up with the technical amendments.
I mean, I guess I agree, there was a lot that was discussed, and to vote on it now, I'm not sure we would. Kind of be discussing everything that was, I don't remember all the stuff. That was discussed.
Was it more the discussion though, mostly for clarification?
Yeah,
Some of, yeah,
on how we're going to do training, how we're going to do education.
So the first one, paragraph 2, article A. Inspection shall be conducted by an inspector. You address that, you wanted to say shall be
Conducted prior to-
inspected prior to launch. Doesn't have to
Just
say.
cross it out.
Right, so that's easy. We redlined the other things you brought up. And the one motor is the other. It, do you have to say one motor or just keep it to horsepower?
We could,
Cause you had two outboards that were both 20 horse.
I think
Still under.
if you wanted a simple fix for that right at the moment, you could say a motorboat launched on the lake. Takeout may only have one engine. And just say can have a trolling motor.
Right, cause most have a trolling motor in
And
it.
can in addition,
Why don't you just take out the motorboat launched onto the lake may only have one engine?
well, they got the concept they wanna hold on to is the trolling motor, because if a fishing boat is maxed out on the horsepower, they can still have their trolling motor. So otherwise, you've got a scenario where if you had a, 150 horse inboard and a trolling motor, you'd be over the horsepower.
And so, but this doesn't even make sense to me anyway. A motorboat launched onto the lake may only have one engine, except as otherwise provided in the article. In the article, what article? What
Oh, wait,
number?
that's not what I'm reading.
Tell them where you are. You're on
I'm on
page
page under horsepower inspection, and then it's,
3.
yes, paragraph 5, 7.
Oh, this is on the ordinance, yes.
No. It's regulation, isn't it?
Regulation
Regulation.
One engine except as otherwise provided in the article.
in the article, what article?
Was second paragraph, halfway down. Horsepower inspection.
Yeah, but if you're gonna tell me where the article is,
This is, this article, that's, we're talking about article. 6. The article, that's being discussed.
so it's not this article, it's article,
It should be
in
say,
parentheses, 6.
well, it can say, instead provided, then change the to this. After article, if you'd like, put just Roman 6.
They gotta know where to find it,
Yeah,
you know, yes.
that's, it's over, that would be a technical correction.
I'd be thoughtful about striking the language about, not only having one engine, because in the ordinance says. No person shall launch a motorboat with an outboard engine whose horsepower exceeds 80. Or a motorboat with an inboard outboard whose horsepower exceeds 150, and if you take out that language in the regulation, I suppose somebody. In theory, could launch a boat that has 280 horse outboard engines on it.
The ideal thing, if you send it to LMAC, would be to, come up with a simple sentence that said, a motorboat launched on the lake can have more than one engine as long as the aggregate horsepower of the engines do not exceed the limit.
That's
Please just fix this.
Yeah,
That sounds right.
That's better.
okay. So is that in horsepower inspection number 5?
Number 5, yeah, the last line on page 4. Where a motorboat launched on the lake, we would cross out, may only have one engine,
Okay,
and put in can, may have more than one engine as long as the aggregate horsepower of the engines do not exceed the established limit.
as the aggregate,
Horsepower of the engines do not exceed the established limit.
Engines in total. In
see
total,
in total,
In total,
the horsepower limit.
Yeah.
Okay,
and then I would say. A motorboat may also have a trolling engine and continue on with what's there because of the fact that we do allow fishermen to have trolling engines in addition to the horsepower in there. Just
do
make
we
it
talk
separate.
about trolling motors anywhere in here, Henry?
Pardon?
We don't, trolling motors are not talked about yet, you're adding them.
Only, no, it's at the end of the line on, the last line on page 4. Where we've just added stuff, had. It talked about trolling motors, it just tacked it onto the sentence, I think we just created a new sentence with it. See, the last word on page 4 is trolling, and then if you go to page 5. Trolling electric engine capable of propulsion, et cetera.
Does anybody see that?
Are you
Yeah,
in the ordinance?
Are you in ordinance or in regulation?
I'm the regulation.
Oh,
On regulations, page 4, the last word is inspection was required.
Right.
Otherwise,
you're in the ordinance.
Okay, go to ordinances.
voted.
Yeah, excuse me, I'm in the ordinance, I apologize.
Yeah.
Page 4, troll. A motorboat launched on the lake may only have one engine. with the exception of a trolling.
That this is where we're just changing the language. But where we have, with the exception of, I would take out with the words, with the exception and start a new sentence. A motorboat may also have a trolling electric engine capable of propulsion.
Well, this is in two places, Henry, it's in the ordinance about the engine, and it's also in the regulation.
It's also in the regulation.
This is.
Yeah.
This ordinance is pretty cool, is what he's talking about, that's a regulation.
Yeah, I understand, I'm reading that, but
But he's talking about now, in the ordinances,
I don't want to have two copies of something.
one's red line and one's not.
So you get them down.
The exception of the trolling.
So the statement we made about the aggregate total
Yes,
of horsepower,
yes.
could you have a 150 or an 80 and then have a trolling motor on there? Does that
Yeah.
not put you over?
No,
You,
listen,
under, if we only had one engine, the way it was written, you could have an 80 or a 150 plus a trolling motor.
Right.
Because you weren't gonna use them both at the same time.
Okay,
You blow out your trolling.
And so all we're doing here is we're saying, as to the horsepower, you can have more than one engine, but you can also still have a trolling engine.
yeah,
okay, so would you change in the ordinance where it says a motorboat launcher lake? We change the same wording, may have more than one engine as long as the aggregate horsepower does not exceed the total regulated horsepower limit.
Right.
And then another sentence.
Right.
Okay, so we substitute in there, this language we just came in. Came up with. And then under troll, a period. Will be a period in a horsepower
And
limit.
then you would start saying a motorboat in addition may have a trolling, and then it would continue on to page 5 that's written.
A trolling. Electric engine capable of propulsion, slow weight speed, okay, so all that still applies.
Right, that would still apply.
So we got those two changes.
And the last change on the regulations would be the title on D. The last page.
But you have to make those same changes in the section 5 of the regulation, where it also refers to only one engine.
Section 5, monitoring time periods.
no,
But in the regulation.
we talked about it already. That was the first place we talked
Yeah.
about, paragraph 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where we were talking about it, in regulations. So I have an ordinance and I have a regulation on the horsepower.
Perfect.
See my.
I'm not crystal clear, when we were back in horsepower inspection under regulations number 5. Where we changed it from provided in the article, we provided to provided in this article.
Right.
Roman 6.
Parentheses,
Roman numeral 6.
Roman numeral 6. Well,
Where's 6 referring to?
It's not no Roman
If you
numeral,
look
it's
at
a
the
regular
page-
English 6.
It says, this is Article 6 of the code of ordinances. So.
Oh, that's referencing Article 6 that we're in.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Article
They want
6.
to see it.
No, that's, he's talking about, this whole thing is Article 6.
Right.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
I got that.
So we got that, and how we get resolved with the stickers, there's a lot of discussion on the stickers.
Yeah, but that's not in what we're voting on tonight.
Are you voting on the ordinance?
Well, we're voting on ordinance and regulation, but we haven't gotten to the minutia of what color the stickers are. or
No,
how we
not
get
the
them out
color,
there.
right, but it does provide for stickers in the ordinance.
Right, but it's vague on how big they are, what color they are.
Yeah, here
How do we
goes,
get them?
exactly, exactly.
If they need
Does it say on both sides of the boat?
It says one side of the boat,
Is that for non-motorized is one side?
one side, yes,
Okay.
because it was following the concept of,
Okay, then I was wrong. So motorized is both sides,
Yes.
right.
non-motorized one, all right.
And all boats need stickers, even if the people live on the lake and they're bringing. Right.
But if they're guests, they might get stopped. So if you have people over for the weekend and you drop your thing in.
Right.
Unless you drop, if you so could,
Ideally, when they come over for the weekend, they use your own kayak and you don't have this problem. Because your kayak is always sitting on your lake shore.
yeah, but not if your brother comes to town and you decide to go and use sled. So, is there some way to do like a day pass or a day sticker or something that would dissolve that with that?
Well, you can rent the kayak from
Oh, silly.
the beach.
People like to bring that, some people like to bring their own kayaks.
Anyway. We'll figure it out. We get stuck.
I think I'm good with changes I have.
So what kind of motion do we make to vote on these changes that I can't read?
You can leave.
Well, I can't read it. You wanna see what I have? So as amended during this meeting. So the changes are from what we published. Under regulations, we're adding under horsepower inspection. We're crossing off may only have one engine, and we're substituting it with may have more than one engine, as long as the aggregate horsepower does not exceed in total the regulated horsepower limit. And then we're crossing out in the article, and we're replacing it with in this Article 6. So those two changes. And then,
Okay, can you read them? Like, yeah, excellent. That's what we're gonna do. I move to adopt the amended. Is this it? Yeah, I move to adopt the amended. Following sections of chapter 190 of the Code of Town Ordinances, Lake and Beach Use. Article 6, launch of watercraft onto Columbia Lake, section 190-24 to 190-31. With the further changes to be.
okay, so you just did the ordinance, so. As 190-31 will add. At the end of that line, resolution of conflicting authorities. And then. On page 4 of the ordinance. We will, on the last section, horsepower inspection number 5. We will change. Motorboat engine horsepower launched. On the lake. That's it.
Oh, that's your hammer.
I know, hold on. May
Just
have
read
a
off the
total-
other one.
a motorboat launched on the lake may only have one engine.
You may have more than one engine.
Oh, I know, I was going to substitute, that's what I was writing is, substitute this language right there. So it'll say, a motorboat launched onto the lake. May have more than one engine as long as the aggregate horsepower does not exceed the total regulated horsepower limit. So we put that also on the ordinance. And then that ends in a period. Say, that section goes in substitute of this last sentence of horsepower inspection. And then we change it to a motorboat with addition. A motorboat in addition may have a trolling. Electric engine capable of propulsion, so all that stays the same.
Mhm.
And then if you go to the very back. We change the title of D on the last page or page 9. The title shall read D, resolution of conflicting authorities. That was the suggested title. So that's the changes in the ordinance.
Any discussion?
Are people comfortable that we got everything that was discussed? I was gonna say, make it contingent on kind of further review or something, but are people comfortable with it? And,
I'm ready.
I think it just needs to get done.
yeah, that's a good point, the lakes.
It's like
summer, beginning of the summer.
We need to do something.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Did Bill vote?
I don't know, abstain.
Okay,
Oh, Bill.
Phillips did.
Oh, he was.
That's fine, he wasn't there.
He wasn't in the.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so. Carries 4-0-1. I move to adopt the amended regulations pursuant to ordinance section 190-30 regarding launch of watercraft onto Columbia Lake. With the following.
Changes. Again, on section 5 horsepower inspection. It shall read a motorboat launched onto the lake may have more than one engine as long as the aggregate horsepower does not exceed in total the regulated horsepower limit. And then we'll also change otherwise provided in this article 6. And moving to the back. C, gate access pass fee until further notice, there should be a refundable annual,
Non-refundable.
a non-refundable annual fee of $50 for a gate access pass.
There's a change on,
Also the vinegar.
That's not in.
Yes, it is.
so there's a page 1. Paragraph 2,
Why do I have?
A, we're taking out the by the inspector, by an inspector.
Yes, this
Yeah.
right here.
So that's,
Also to include, an aquatic invasive species inspection shall be conducted prior to the launch and removal of any motorboat onto the lake.
and we take out by inspector.
Correct.
Okay, and where's vinegar?
Second page.
That's the top of
Page,
page
John.
2.
Oh, you're right. 100% vinegar. Which-
This parentheses,
Why don't we take out-
undiluted 5% acidity.
Why don't we take out 100% and just say vinegar? And then we can clarify it with the state and get it into the education program.
Okay, 30, but I would take it.
Okay, just stand up.
Okay. So we all need to take out 100%.
Well, I would put undiluted if you're taking out 100%, because I think that's what.
That's what they mean.
Undiluted.
Undiluted vinegar would go with that.
Undiluted vinegar.
What they're saying is don't dilute water,
Right.
Oh,
because that'll change the acidity.
Mark, but undiluted.
Undiluted.
Change that amendment to undiluted vinegar.
Okay.
Anything else? Good to go? Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. The Chiefs.
We did it.
Moral when do I tack in, the new?
You put it in
Yeah.
6.8.
8.1, 6, what we do that, okay, 6.1. Discussion regarding waiving fees for the transfer station and beach passes for Columbia Volunteer Fire Department members. Sure, I mean, honestly, against it, sir?
I was gonna,
Yes, please state your name.
Chief Steph, 244 Egerton Road, Assistant Chief of the Fire Department. When we came to the board to investigate and bring this up as a discussion with you guys to see if this is something that was in favor, that we could then go back to our members and our board to get approval. We weren't looking for any action immediately on this again. Wanted to support the board first before we went further on it. This is all in regards to our recruitment and retentions. Been working very hard with Judy and another committee, trying to get some younger family members that are in town and keep them around. And a lot of the discussions we've had with other groups and organizations and their recruitment have been about stuff that we can do to help alleviate some time and stress on some people that will allow them to volunteer and again, keep our department 100% volunteer that. And we're all happy with it, that keeps our taxes down without having paid staff there. So, this has been a drive for, again, to get some younger members, just some numbers that we have right now, we have about 40 members. And 11 of them are cadets or probationary members, and then we have 15 of those 40 that are over the age of 50. So that big age gap between about 20 and 30 young families and stuff, that's what we're really trying to attack and go after. That was our thought process in bringing this,
You take ex-military people?
of course.
That's a, why do you have fire department?
Absolutely. Yes, sir, Mr. Beck.
Henry Beck, 41 Sleepy Hollow Road. I'm all in favor of doing whatever we can for the fire department, and this seems like a good idea, but I have a question. And I hope somebody can answer it. Has anybody looked at the tax ramifications of this? I know when we have the, tax abatement thing, the tax issues dealt with as part of the state provision and so forth. This would be the town taking action on its own. I'd hate to have it suddenly created a tax problem that could be resolved. So I just don't know the answer to that question.
I know the answer.
Okay,
My concern is if we have to have a paid fire department, our taxes will go through the roof. So I understand. I thought, and I wanted to find out how many families use the beach and the transfer station. I really honestly, deep down inside, I don't care. I'm all for it.
no, it's the tax concern is the people who are getting the benefit.
I know, but they also get the benefit when their house goes up on fire and when they need an ambulance and everything. I truly, I understand, and that's a good question.
Henry just wants to make sure it doesn't conflict with the ordinance.
So I wanna make sure that they don't suddenly find that they owe tax on $100 of beach passes.
Oh.
For income tax purposes,
Income
this
tax.
is income to them.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah,
Okay.
he's talking about, so
Good point.
this, a while back, its property tax abatement was taxable to the fire department. I can remember who powers of be finally said that this will be excluded from taxable income. So his point is for the, we'll say $100 a year between beach passes and its transfer station, could this possibly be a taxable income to the fire department?
Okay.
So.
You might have to give them a 1099.
Right,
Did the town pay the tax?
That would be income to them. Isn't that over 600?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's.
It doesn't matter, but
Okay, we have some firemen, do they know something about this?
Jeff Lewis, 2 Lakewood Lane Deputy Chief, also the president of the Columbia Volunteer Fire Department. I was invited into the retention recruitment committee that Jordy Ortiz and 2 other town officials have been working very hard with Assistant Chief Steve Postemski, and I totally hear what you're saying. We, in the budget being passed, we are increasing what we call it remuneration. It's like gas money, but when you get over a certain limit, it's taxable income. So being that we are heading that way, the town has offered to pay the checks and take the taxes out of us. So we understand that, we totally get that.
Good.
And I thank you all for understanding where we're at. We're all taxpayers. I still, like 2 Lakewood Lane, I still pay taxes in this town, so I know what the ramifications are if we have to wait. And I thank the Board of Selectmen for listening to us. There's also a little add addition to that, that when I was working with the assistant chief and we were looking at everything, the only people that pay to get the tax abatement is anyone that owns property. So we have a bunch of 17, 18, 19, 21, 2, and 3-year-olds that live at home with mom and dad. Well, wouldn't it be nice if the member that meets the qualifications that we will come back with and work with the floor and anyone else that wants to sit here to save the big figure? What if we were able to pay the car taxes on that vehicle? So mom and dad didn't have to pay those taxes, but that member met a criteria that he went on so many calls. He answered so many ambulance calls that took it off the pressure of the older members. It's all about giving and giving someone else a break. So if you get an 18-year-old, because you gotta be 18 to sign the patient care reform, if that 18-year-old, which we have, that do 70 calls, that's 70 less times that one of us have to be in that ambulance. And we can handle the other calls that they can't be at because they're at school or college. Right now, we have a bunch home from college. So it's trying to open, and the people that we've had in, the gentleman from the American Legion, very knowledgeable on recruiting, and he gave us a lot of ideas that we then sat and brainstormed and said, wait a minute, let's go after these little things that some people might think are big, but a beach pass, a dump sticker, or paying the car taxes. And we know, I have two kids, they don't drive the 1,500 Chevy pickups, they're driving the beaters. So if it's even $200, it's $200 mom and dad didn't have to pay in their taxes. But it's a benefit to the town, because at the end of the day, we all know what that big figure is going to be. And it's getting there, the numbers, as the assistant chief read those numbers. It's starting to become realistic. We're doing over 700 calls this year again. We had 3 structure fires in 30 days. We hadn't had a structure fire in over 2 years. So these are things that we have to look at, and Judy spearheading that committee and inviting these people in. They're opening our minds, and we have to basically say, we've done everything we could. We explored every avenue humanly possible to try to save it. So I thank you again for listening. It's, I listened, definitely, I thank you for bringing that up. And we're trying to see what we can do, and wanted to bring this forward to you to see what you think. Are you interested? Are you not? Because if it's not, we're not gonna go anywhere. We'll switch lanes and go down a different avenue.
No, I think it's a great
I think
idea.
it's no great.
Yeah, but it's a good point if they have to pay taxes on it. I don't,
But it
What's the
sounds,
tax is gonna be?
sounds like it's under control, so that, I just wanna make sure that it wasn't
Yeah, I,
escaping everybody's
They
attention.
don't have to take their benefit if they don't. So one thing I brought up, and maybe the firefighters here can maybe weigh in. What if they can't or choose not to use the beach pass? I mean, could we offer them kind of like a credit for other recreational activities, right? Maybe they have kids that, can get
Play
a break
rec
off the
ball.
soccer, right? So they may not benefit from the beach because they choose not to, but maybe it's a benefit up to X amount of dollars
Extra dollar amount.
for recreational purposes.
It's a
yeah.
great idea,
Yeah.
very great idea, and actually bringing this forward and hearing that idea, this is what we need. We need open conversation to try to solve a problem that's not just in the town of Columbia, it's across the United States.
Yeah.
And fire departments are closing every day. So I thank you for that suggestion, that is one that we will definitely, he's writing it down right now.
so we're not voting on this, you just wanna know if we're interested, so you can bring it back to the group?
Exactly, you wanna know if you guys are interested in these ideas, because it has to be a partnership. We have to partner together to solve this problem, and we wanted to make sure, because it's not just having.
blocking this, man.
Huh?
I feel like you're kind of blocking this, I'm all in favor of
I
voting this.
get that, but we wanna come back with the criteria. We wanna be able to have it solid, so when we present this, it's a solid deal that you're gonna get something for this. You're not just handing someone a rec pass or a beach pass or a dump sticker, and you're not getting anything for it, because that doesn't help us.
Yeah, listen, I get it,
Thank you.
thank you. But I think we know what we're getting with our fire department, okay,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Okay, are we all interested that they can bring this, that they can,
Yeah.
You know.
definitely.
Yes,
Actually, great, thank you, you got 5 there, I feel
Thank
like
you very much.
Simon Cowell, you got 5 yeses there, buddy.
Yeah, I gotta pull the ticket.
Uh,
None of them.
Not yet.
all right,
Thank you very
bring
much.
us the ideas, bring us the ideas, so that's good. New discussion. 6.1, this is the one we have. I move to approve the policy and procedures concerning compliance with federal securities law relating to disclosure for the town of Columbia and the post-issuance tax compliance policies and procedures and supplied by bond counsel. That's written by an attorney right there, isn't it?
So in your binders, you'll see these 2 documents we just received that we need to approve. So that we're in compliance with federal securities laws relating to disclosure. And we're scheduled for signing our bonds, pre-signing this coming Monday, and closing on the bonds this coming Wednesday. That's why we need to have these in place before we can do that.
Everybody's looked at these, you're supposed to look
We
at,
got them out, unfortunately, we got them out an email today, prior to the meeting.
how about our attorney and stuff, is it?
It came from a bond attorney.
You're right.
So look for this tiny print saying he gets a cut. Okay, discussion? Standard procedure? Right. No discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing I come up with late? You can kind of. Appointments. I move to appoint Kristen Locke to the Board of Education. She has some time to think about it and she's still here. So, yeah. Anything anybody wants to say? Excellent.
Wanna introduce her or something?
I'm hoping she introduced herself.
Hi, I'm Kristen. Lived in town for 5 years now. Got involved heavily with education when we started, seeing what our kids were learning in school during COVID. And now we homeschool them, so it's a little bit different of a perspective. For the Board of Education, coming from, my kids have been inside and outside, the school system. And, you know, I pick their education, I pick their curriculum, I am more involved than the average parent in what they're learning and why. So I think it just gives me a unique perspective.
Okay, very good. My grandkids are homeschooled.
Nice.
And two of my, well, daughter and daughter-in-law are both elementary school teachers, master and stuff, and they talk about the education in a lot of schools, so. Glad to have you there. Any other discussion, questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Those are not.
Yep. Opposed, none. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Town administrator's report.
There's two documents in here, just one from cost reviewing, different highlights. We did receive, extra money. $160,000 in ECS and.
That's for next year,
For next year,
they restored,
right, so they,
added like a new special ed. Well, they had another.
so they increased their ECS funding from what we budgeted, because we went on the governor's budget and then it actually.
Yes, they restored with the cut was on them.
We also on House Bill 5002, I haven't heard as of today whether the governor's gonna veto it. I had a meeting with John, head of planning. His gut feel is the governor will not veto it, but make the legislative work to come back into session and modify the bill.
Which one is it?
5002, which is the housing bill. So that's still up in the air. I also didn't hear, if the governor said he was gonna veto, I haven't heard if he did. The new fund they wanted to create so that union members could go past the normal 3 weeks and the state would fund them to continue their strike. The governor was against that. I hope he does veto that, because that would reduce the incentive to negotiate sooner and end the strike sooner. I don't see how that could make Connecticut a competitive place to have a business, but that's up to the governor right now. And you can look at this. Many bills fail, and it's just part of our process. A lot gets thrown in, and only a few of them actually pass. So I'll let you review those at your leisure. And then next, you'll see that we had a very a really good outcome in our bond obligation notes. We, first part of that reason, I thank Beverly for all her help. We actually were rated by Standard & Poor's as a AA+. And we could not achieve a AAA because our town is too small. They just won't do AAA in a town our size. But we got the highest we could get. And they gave us a outlook as stable, and our band rating is the SP1+, which is the highest you could get in our band rating. So that resulted in, when the bonds went out to bid, we achieved a 3.17% interest rate.
That's great.
which is actually, for right now, that's amazing, because our timing was real good. The whole tariff thing had calmed down a little bit, and the market was more conducive. I talked to some other towns, like Windsor, South Windsor, they were up in 4 or more range, so we did really well. So I just wanna thank everybody involved
Thanks.
and appreciate IPAC getting the policy committee, the policy regulations in order. So we had the policies in place, which allowed us to get that lead. So everybody worked hard and got it done. But we're good, and we'll sign this week. That's all I have to.
Okay, transfers, actually, this police report is in there. Little activity report, which is good, and some articles from Blue Magic Chronicle. So right now we can move in, there's no transfers. Refunds, I move to approve the refunds.
Oh, there's.
So all those transfers, they just didn't fit.
What?
You had a copy of it.
It's a big,
Under your binder.
big staple.
It's a time of year. They were over there too.
I don't know where stuff always goes.
Lives and ideas.
There's another.
No.
That's the one.
That's your transfers. This is your article.
So it doesn't say transfers on these things.
We've been rushing.
Okay. Okay, I move to approve transfers in the amount of $26,863. From the list. Included. Go over some of this.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's what.
No,
No,
they're clipped there.
All right, is there,
we're just looking for this one that just signed, but go ahead. We'll find you.
Is there any questions or do you want me to go through everything on? The bottom ones are the big ones.
The 10,000.
So, with the change in the tax department, adding the position of the assistant tax collector. There's probably gonna be another one once I get the next couple payrolls in. It was not budgeted because it came in mid-year, so. Just trying to cover that payroll, same thing with Marine Patrol. There was changes in the hours last year and this year, so again, they're gonna be short, so. I just said heavy digging,
So they need more money.
transfers, yep,
but
The
you
rest-
found the money to move it over.
I found the money,
Nothing came out of contingency?
not this time.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of the transfers? Aye. Now, move to approve refunds.
Yes, sir.
Totaling $205.46. Correct? On the 2 line items. Pretty standard. All those in favor?
Aye.
And bills?
That's you.
I move to approve payment of bills of $616,751.65, which consists of 24-25 emergency, 24-25 regular, 24-25 prepaid. Credit card and paychecks. Yes. What's prepaid?
So those are bills that are applied to services starting July 1. And they all like to pay me as soon as possible, so, they will not hit this year's budget, they will be posted in next year, so they're in what's called the prepaid account. Just so we can get the bills paid, and then they'll be transferred into the next budget.
Where did we do a septic cleanout, Mark, for $1,900?
We did all our septics in town, so we had a baseline going forward. But we've been having so many issues with different buildings and we want to
Been a
make
couple
sure.
of years, it's been at least 2 or 3 years.
We knew that we were due to do them, so now we'll have a schedule.
So the garage door down there is gonna cost us $3,750. Boathouse garage. door.
Yes, because we had to use a special company, an awning company to actually do it. The garage door company was.
So buy one new trailer for the plow. $7,500.
Well, that trailer, actually, there was leftover money in the public works budget. They always wanted this trailer. What they're using it for is they're putting all their equipment when they go on a job, and it includes compactors and jetpacks and everything they'll need when they're working, so that they don't have to load up their truck. They used to load it all in the open bed small pickup truck, and then everything would move around and get damaged. So now everything's just like a landscaper. Picture when they open up their big box trailer and the weed whackers and everything is all their tools are bolted. So it's working out great.
$400,000 to save more that's for the HVAC system.
Correct.
$400,000. What did we set up, what did we vote on, $499,000? $499,000?
Well, that was
This is
for
money
the,
that's gonna be reimbursed and not.
so
I understand that, but we pre-voted,
that was for the architectural designs,
And the project manager and the commission.
project manager and the commissioning agent. That wasn't actually building the HVAC system. And then we did another authorization so we could order the equipment in advance.
so we did start it, but then we took money back out of that.
That's next year. Yeah, that's.
For the budget,
Right, put it back in the general.
right, so this money was already set aside.
Well, it's going to be paid for with.
We are joined on the general fund. The timing of the bonding is coming in quite well to help cover the,
So that's what I mean, this came out of the general fund.
yes.
Yes,
So
for
that's
right
not
now,
amount of money that we put aside.
No,
but we'll put it into the
But
bond.
putting back.
Right, we'll pay ourselves back. From the bond.
Now, the
Sounds
electrical,
like my brother.
the electrical for switchgear, is that part of that?
This is the
Yes.
short-term funding, right?
That's
yes,
part of
they
that.
needed a
Okay,
payment to
fine.
get, to start paying their bills for getting it ordered and.
We're covering the short-term finance.
Yeah, I mean, Seymour's been doing a significant amount of work. I mean,
Right.
they've accomplished, I think, all of the cassette installs on A-Wing. They just started yesterday, I believe, going to day shift. So now that we'll have a full court press of workers on the day shift.
Do you want to talk about anything that's happened over there?
Well, did you get any feedback on whether Eversource has agreed to whether the transformer has to be increased or not? Cause I just keep seeing the emails back and forth that the designers say it doesn't.
So it sounds like they need to run some tests to make sure that there's been in fact conduit run. So that's where I see the back and forth between Bob Dan and the electrical engineer. And Jim and Eversource to make sure that they understand, how many sample bores do they have to take in order to verify, because if they can demonstrate that there was conduit, then they may be able to use the existing. And not necessarily have to change the whole transformer.
And did the mechanical engineer, he set a date to come out and verify that A-Wing, the supports he's designed will hold the unit properly? That was,
So I saw in the meeting minutes that they had the meeting the other week, that they did confirm that. I don't know
Right.
what's been.
I don't know what date was set, but we made it clear he's gotta come physically.
Right,
out
because
here.
Save More needs that in writing, so they can,
Well, they're not gonna get it right, they're gonna get his
or the spec.
stamp on the drawings.
Understand. Jason said.
Yeah, we had the stamp drawings, we just want him to come out
Okay.
physically confirm to save more satisfaction that his design is full of. And that stamp is what we're going on. So they wanted him out, because they had to move the DOAS unit 5 feet due to
Space.
space when they uncovered, opened up all the ceilings. So there is a slight modification in the plans. We just wanted to verify that. So those are the two big issues that were coming back. And,
Yeah, I just wanted the board to know about it.
right, and wasn't there a third we were talking about? It was the moving of the DOAS unit in a.
Well, there's some ductwork that they have to look at to be run vertically in A-Wing versus what the original plan was. So they're working with the fire marshal and others. They're still working through what they can do.
Right, the fire marshal gave permission to take all the ceilings down now that the kids are all out of school. So we can look at everything and won't have any more surprises. So that's
It's torn apart in there.
great.
Beautiful. You should see the floors.
So I just asked that every now and then, after a meeting or something, keep us posted on the, I mean, really. How it's going, number one, this is all good information, and I like the time frame. I'm a time frame guy. If the, you know, things look good on the time frame, or glitch here or there, or something's not coming in and set us back. Just so, not a whole big surprise come December that we're.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Russo, the project manager, I mean, he gives us an updated IMAT or Gantt schedule, which basically has the project timeline, so we can different make copies and share. I mean, the majority of the work is still scheduled to be done prior to the end of the year.
Well, every other week, we have a project manager meeting at 2:30 in the school, and every other week, or as needed, we have a committee, building committee meeting
Okay.
that Chris is in charge of.
Okay. Any more discussion? That's a big bill, hey, it's $600,000. All those in favor paying the money? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? Good. You got so much paper. Audience of citizens. We didn't forget you. You want to talk to us? No, yeah, why don't you talk to us, because I asked you guys and we didn't put it on the agenda, but tell me how we're doing on the old
No.
parade.
Tim Anderson, 22 Basket Shop Road, I'm Secretary with Columbia Alliance and this year's parade chair. And I just want to stop by, Steve asked me to stop by and let you know what's going on with the parade. Parade is in full swing and mode in terms of getting people to participate. Which is gonna be very similar to last year's parade in terms of size, in terms of the bands and fire trucks and floats and stuff like that. We still get a couple coming in for the next 2 weeks, we expect. We got the approvals for the use of the school parking lot, which brings up a question, is any of the work that's being done over there with the HVAC gonna impede anything we wanna do over there?
I don't think that part, but you might wanna check with the school. They just started digging for the oil tank replacement. There's a big hole in
Parking lot?
in front of the school.
Probably
So,
not exactly where you stage and wrap.
so I think there's room around it, but I would probably check with Mike Sylvester. I assume they're gonna get the tank done within the next week, so.
Okay, and that, and also we asked for use of the lavatories just inside.
Yeah, that probably won't be a problem, but you might wanna check with Mike Sylvester,
And
confirm it.
just long as sometimes they drop equipment and store it in the parking lot per se, so.
Yes,
So Tim, when she says check with Mike,
Yeah,
please check with Mike.
okay,
Okay, don't take it for granted that somebody else checked with them and then he knows about it. Check with them, and then the day before, check with them and call them July 4th.
if you need help, let me know, because the school is kinda. The staff is not there,
yeah,
but Mike is,
yeah,
and I know he's busy with projects, so if you have a concern, just let me know and I can call.
okay. And as far as contacting the local, state representatives and senators and so on,
Done all that.
you've done all that, and the state police,
State trooper has a whole parade game plan.
okay,
He's ready to block off roads and, that aspect.
yep. That's good.
Okay, wonderful. Let me ask you another question. We're not planning to start working on next year's parade in May of next year, are we? I mean,
No, we're gonna start planning it right after this one.
yeah, if you have
So,
contracts for next
All our
year's parade.
contracts that we have this year, we're gonna try to get them to sign one for next year. So
Okay,
we have them all bundled up, and then we have to see if we can't find any special groups that we can get a hold of, like the postcard marching band, or, anything else that might be available to us within the state.
okay, I'll work with you on that, okay? Cause I think if the governor shows up. We had a conversation last year and it didn't really. Work its way toward my desk.
Yeah.
Not that, I mean, I'm nobody, I understand that, but don't tell me you're gonna have somebody call me and then they don't call me. The bottom line is, I can work on the Coast Guard. They get a lot of money.
Yeah, that's, when they had their little ensemble play over at the church, I asked about it, they said, well, we play for military. Receptions and.
Yeah, okay,
Dignitaries down in
I'll-
Washington and all that kind of.
And the other thing is I'd like for the Air National Guard, I've been asking them for 3 years to give me a flyover.
Yeah, I mean, they fly over every day.
Yeah, right, every day.
The guy changes schedule for the 4th of July.
Yeah, honestly, the flight boss could say, okay, you're gonna hit Columbia at 10:05, you're gonna go further on, you're gonna hit New London at 10:23. You're gonna circle back and you're gonna go up and hit Plainfield and stuff, you're just gonna do a loop and you can hit every parade.
But, yeah.
Yeah, so, yes,
Have you called the Air National Guard?
I have.
Did you talk to the officer who actually schedules flyovers? Because they do that.
Yeah, I've tried, and you know what, I'm really disappointed in the sergeant major up there. This was probably 2 years ago, I called numerous times, left numerous messages. Never got a call back, and when I got through to somebody, they said, oh, an airman, oh yeah, I'll push it on to somebody. So,
Yes, Sergeant Major, that's not Air Force.
Yeah, that's on there.
okay, whatever, tech,
Oh, Texas, okay, honestly.
they call me back. Well, if they call me back, they might have said their rank. So, what's her rank?
What was mine?
No, her rank, what would her rank have been? The leading enlisted
Could be Chief Master Sergeant?
chief master sergeant, probably. Yes,
So the community requests for like the Army and the Air National Guard normally go through the community actions in Hartford.
Yeah.
I can get that point of contact.
great,
And the 102nd Army Band.
Yeah.
I don't know if they support, probably won't be able to support this year, but they could support in the future.
Up in, Raccoon.
Yep, they're Rockville.
great, start calling them now for next year. Wherever I have to call for whatever, I don't care. All right,
Or for this year, if it's not too late.
What's
Well, I
the
did
theme
ask.
this year?
The theme, Peace Without Limits.
Peace without limits? That's fine.
It's not looking too good. Tim places, but.
Tim, one thing, can you ask everyone throwing candy to make it to the grass? And not let it die in the road?
Unfortunately, we have no control.
I know, just,
well, we couldn't get a walker with every truck.
I tell you, there's a lot of candy when the lines finally come down the road. It's amazing how much candy doesn't make it to the curb, so,
that's my point.
yeah.
And the little kids,
Yeah,
they're not-
we can just make sure, cause they get little kids on a float tossing candy and it
No, that's-
just kinda goes like that.
That's a bad
So,
idea.
That's a bad idea.
just, anyone throwing candy needs to be able to throw at least 6 feet. 2 feet, not so good. I just watch
Give
it.
them bubbles, give them those cannons.
Okay, you,
And then I just, one observation, normally by this time we've had. Bunting and the flags up on the flagpole.
Those are all about to go up.
I think they had to buy brand new ones, I think they were about.
As I figured, and I know Jim Blair was asking about it, so I told him while I was here, I would ask. And whether or not we need the lines to help out with that, so
Okay,
just keep that in mind.
thanks, Jim.
the other thing is, please have the honor platform. Cause you didn't have.
We didn't have it last year because we were kind of like short.
Okay, a lot of people,
Dignitaries.
you're yelling at me, as I'm going down there, where's it,
Do you want to stand on that or do you want to march?
I'll let you know, but
Okay.
would you, are you gonna be in town?
I'll be in town.
Would you represent in the young airman, will she be here?
No, she won't be.
Okay, so we talked to Tim, we usually get we actually get 3 or 4, we've had years, there's been 4 military personnel in uniform. And there's a honorary platform and they, render honor and. As they go by, they used to judge, but now there's nothing, it's kind of not worth the judge thing, it's very nice, people like it, so.
Yep. Okay, we're having a meeting tomorrow, so make sure that's on the agenda.
All right, thank you very much.
Good.
You saved me a phone call, Tim, I was gonna call you one. Thanks.
No more audience or citizen, thank you, board member comments? Nope, excellent, Bill, enjoy yourself, watch out, don't pet the buffaloes.
Or absolutely not.
You play with the bears though.
No, not either.
All right, very good, in that case, I.
Adjourn at 8:47.
Adjourn 8:47, all those in favor,
Aye.
take care.
Good night.